Hi, it's Kathy Matsushita here, and in honor of my newly remodeled and repainted guitar making room, I thought I'd make a new video, and Hannah's going to be guiding us on this tour. Um, I'm standing in my living room at the entrance to the guitar making room. This used to be an office room when my brother owned this house. What he had done was split the single large bedroom of this old house into two smaller rooms. And so there's this room here, and just on the other side of the wall is my little office room, which is a little smaller than this one, I think. But anyway, when I bought this house, it was perfect for me because I could use this one as a workroom for making instruments and use the other room on the other side for my schoolwork and computer and library, etc. And then upstairs I have a bedroom. So let's see what's in here now. This room used to be just plain white, as every room in my house was, and so I thought I'd give it some color. So it's kind of a gray pumice color that I painted the walls. Makes it a little bit nicer. So when you enter the room, on this wall here, well, first of all, anytime I enter this room and want to keep the door open, I've got to put that doorstop. Otherwise, what happens is, if I don't have a doorstop there, this is what happens. The door will automatically close on its own, because I guess the house is tilted or the wall is tilted or something. But anyway, so on this door I have a couple of shop aprons. This wall here behind the door is where I have a few interesting items. I have here a little portion of a page that I cut out of this book called Kiss Guide to Playing the Guitar. They had a little blurb on one of the pages about my website about building guitars. So I was kind of surprised to see that. Here is an autograph addressed to me by Jake Shimabukuro. One of my friends had seen him in concert and went backstage and told him about the few ukuleles I've made, and that kind of interested Jake, and he wrote this little autograph for me. Kind of nice to have that. This is an article from an old acoustic guitar magazine issue where they highlighted a few websites on building guitars, and mine was one of the websites that they talked about there. That was kind of cool. Down here I have a photo of one of my former students. I used to teach English, and I had him as a freshman, but he became a missionary in Germany in a music ministry, and at one point he asked me if I could build him a guitar, and I knew that he probably couldn't afford what I might have to charge for a newly built guitar. So I ended up, instead I gave him the first Taylor style grand concert acoustic cutaway that I made. And in one of his newsletters he had posted this picture and of him playing the guitar in a concert, and so I printed it up. It's kind of cool. Here I have my Guild of American Luthiers membership certificate and their annual calendar. On this wall I have my rulers, levels, hand saws, various hand saws there, and paper towels. Right here is my first workbench. This is an old bureau that I repainted and put new handles on that fit this space just perfectly, and I retopped it with some particle board and then tempered hardboard on top. Have a pegboard with my most used tools, hand tools, some glues, epoxy, Titebond, Duco cement, a few other things up there like coping saw blades, jeweler's saw blades, my poster of Linda Manzer's Picasso guitar, which I think is so cool. Down here is the tool bin that I just built recently for a couple of reasons. To hold, number one, various small items, pencils, needle files, X-Acto knife, rulers, and so on. But also I built it, it's about 3.5 inches in depth, to cover up the gap that there is behind this cabinet and the wall. I had to put the cabinet a little out from the wall because my outlet, electrical outlet, is actually on the floor behind this cabinet. And so to keep the extension cord that I have running from that outlet, to keep it free, I needed some space. And so I built this little bin to cover up that space so nothing would fall behind the cabinet. But it's really handy too to keep all these little things. Here is my closet where I keep some supplies. Basically, mostly finishing supplies, bracing material, finishes, alcohol, and so on, containers, bottles. In this drawer of this file cabinet, I have all my sandpapers in file folders. It makes it really easy to find what I need. And I have odds and ends down here, like purfling, tortoiseshell binding, various veneers for pig heads, and so on, truss rods. And then these two drawers here are mostly finishing materials. Polishing materials, finishing materials, shellac, turpentine, and so on. Also in this closet I have some wood, some spruce I got a long time ago from Aircraft Supply or whatever that place is called. And then I have tubes of things like binding, purfling, fret wired, some dowels, kerfing, things that are kind of hard to store otherwise. So that's my closet. On this side of the closet I have just odds and ends in a little wire shelving there, and this shelving, which used to be something I had actually flat on the floor to hold guitar cases upright. But I converted it to a little shelf for little items. Q-tips, craft sticks, sandpaper rolls, dust masks, more epoxy, wax paper, foil, gloves, and so on. Right here I have my tool chest, And this has lots of little tools, lots of little chisels or files, little saws, Allen wrenches, and so on. And I have mostly scrapers and little hand planes here, and sanding blocks. In this drawer I have some things like rasps, some more sanding blocks, a radius sanding block, files, and so on. This drawer I have micro rasps, some doweling jigs, things like that. And on the bottom there's a big kind of cabinet area for larger things like my spray gun, a few other things. Now this bench was the very first bench I made long ago. Now it's nice and neat. I don't have things under the bench or behind the bench because I have more room now to put things away. Here's my parrot vise, which is kind of a knockoff of the original Versa vise. I love it because when you tighten the vise, it also locks it so it doesn't move this way as well. And you can flip it so it's on that a different axis, and so you can have it sideways as well. These two pipe flanges are what I attach my pipe clamps to, which hold these two thin plywood jaws that are lined with carpet. It's to hold a guitar securely when you're working on it. Say you want to scrape the sides or things like that. So that's handy, and those are the pipe clamps that I attach to these two pipe flanges. That's what I use to press frets in. There's a jointer. It's called the Easy Jointer that I got from Luthier Suppliers. I have a drawer here, and this has all my clothespins, little clamps, stationary clamps. These are what I use when I'm gluing on kerfing. So I have them all in that drawer. Up here is my adjustable go-bar deck, which I just love. It's adjustable in height with those pipe clamp parts, but also it's on a TV swivel mount, and so I can pull it out, swivel it around whatever way I want. And so when I'm using the go-bar deck, I can get to any part of the top or back very easily by just using this and swiveling it. On that wall I have various templates just kind of nailed, hanging there on nails to those wood strips, and I just added this other wood strip. I previously had all my clamps just directly with pipe flanges screwed into the wall and a long pipe, but the weight of the clamps eventually pulled the pipe flanges out of the wall, and so and it was kind of hard to get to the clamps because a lot of them then were behind this go-bar deck. And so what I did was I moved the pipe flanges and the pipe to this bench on this side, which I never sit at this side. And so I just attached all my clamps to this pipe here. And it's really handy because this is the bench I usually use. And so I sit here, for example, and if I need a clamp, I can just reach over and easily access whatever I need. So here's my second bench, or third bench, I guess. And what I have here is I have a hinged board. This is scrap from when I had my countertop in my kitchen done. And so this was left over. This is basically probably the hole from the sink. And I have two holes here, and all I do is screw a couple of dowels, bolt a couple of dowels using these holes as legs, and so it holds this little table up. And what I use this for is when I need to clamp easily something up. And so just having this single board makes it easy to clamp. And then when I don't use it, it doesn't take up any space. I just remove the legs. I have another drawer here, and this drawer just has various things in it, little cauls or I forget what you call these things, turnbuckles that I use for spreaders and so on. That's handy to have there. Down here, I really don't have anything on this shelf. I have my charger for the DeWalt portable drill. I have a little hand vacuum there. Let's see. Now, my new benches. These are the benches that I just built recently. And I have a shorter one. It's about 42 inches long. And the shorter one I have, it's kind of hard to access the far end, and so I have put infrequently used items back there. Some finish and some cork glue. I have a couple of buckets of wood scraps that I can use for clamping or for cauls, and it's handy just to have it right there. This bench is, forget what it was, 57 inches or something like that. But I made a little compartment here for some of my larger boards or jigs. I used to have those things all just propped up against the wall here, and it was kind of difficult to easily access any one of those boards or jigs because I'd have to move other ones out of the way to get to it, and it took up floor space. And so I made this little compartment, and they all fit just in that area there, and I can easily access whichever one I want. The radius dishes, those 4 radius dishes, I have some wood strips that I nailed to the bottom so that they don't roll out of the workbench on their own. I have a plate joining jig here, board, the one that's notched there, and I use these pipe clamps with that. I have a shooting board here, and I have a board that I use whenever I route out sound holes or sound hole purfling channels and so on, to use with the Dremel circle cutting jig. And I have another spare board there. And then this area, what I plan to do is put a couple of runners, or a few runners on each side, just wood strips, and then put some boards across so I can store more things, because just using the bottom there for those, I have some wood strips and various things here is kind of wasting the space. So I'm going to make some shelves. And also the shelves will hide that ugly cord that's dangling behind the bench. I hate seeing cord hanging. It's very messy. So that'll be another thing I can do. Over here I have my little cabinet with little bins for the little things like saddles, nuts, bolts, threaded inserts, inlay material, and so on. As I was cleaning out my closet, I found I had another one that I can use, which will come in handy. And I have brushes here. On the shelves above this area, I've put all my instrument making DVDs there, which will be very handy because the TV that I just bought, this little 13-inch flat panel, it has a DVD player right in it. So anytime I need to refer to something from one of these instrument making DVDs, I can easily do that. I also have brought all my most used instrument making books, and I put them on these shelves here for easy reference. That way I don't have to run over to my office room anytime I need to check something. Having all these shelves is really nice. Oh, I also have an old iPod that I'm using with an iHome clock radio, so I can have music while I work, or I can watch TV while I work, which I often do when I'm sitting at the bench doing something. But I have a lot of space here for all my materials. It's wonderful. At the top, all around the whole room, I have a 15.5-inch board shelves for the bigger items. So I have lots of cigar boxes there. Those are left over from all the cigars I've been smoking lately. No, they're for making cigar box ukes, and so I have a lot of them in supply. I have various jigs that are kind of larger. I have some fingerboard cauls there, my bending iron. I have my modest wood stash right there. And then I have jigs and molds for making a mandolin, making a violin, and then all my instrument, guitar and uke molds there. And what I've done is I've labeled the outside of the molds so that I can easily see which one is where if I need to pull one out. Way in the corner there you see there's a drum head that I had bought a long time ago with the intention of making a banjo uke, which I will do. And so I have lots of space for those larger items now. Let's see. One last thing, I think. This is my solution for how to store all those long paper rolls of instrument plans or blueprints. I used to have them just kind of standing in my closet there, but this is a better way. I was looking originally for some kind of wire bin that would be wide enough to screw onto the wall, but didn't find anything, and so I just kind of made this up. I have a old shelf that I had left over, and then I got some brackets and put brackets on the front, and that way all the rolls won't fall off the shelf, and I can easily access them if I need to pull down a plan. So I think that's pretty much it. I love it. I love how it came out. I can't wait to get back to building, and I hope I can keep it as neat as it is right now. It just makes you feel better when you have a neat place to work in and everything's in its place. So, hope you enjoyed this little tour. Catch you later. Bye-bye.